Welcome back to Strat Chat, guys. It's been a while. I didn't do one since I moved. I was thinking, man, I need to get this back on it. Actually, a couple of people brought it up out of stream and in stream, like, hey, when are you gonna do the spoken podcast again? And I thought long and hard, who am I gonna bring on? And we brought on Avinash coming out of Boba's Alliance and also from TI Alpha. Figured, get somebody everybody on the planet knows. Because chances are she's got an alt in your guild, and is part of the leadership, perhaps. Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm a few places, but not as much everywhere as I used to be.
Yeah, and it's got to be down to conquest, because I'm assuming with all of your alts you can only do what, 3 maybe tops, and before burning your brains out.
Two.
Two.
Yeah, the third one, no, I can't do it. So.
Yeah, I can understand that. I struggle enough doing just one. Like, it started back up again, and I was just like, okay, let's just.
I fell asleep in the middle of just about doing the first sector boss on my main. So I literally fell asleep in the middle of the battle. So I don't even know if I won or not. I just closed it.
I was gonna say, hopefully you put it on auto before it went out.
I should have, yes.
Yeah, but it's a big change. The game, they're asking a lot more time of people now. I specifically want to hear, like, what do you think about the new TW?
It's hard to say. I know that there are some people that are happy with the changes, but there's a lot. I think there's a majority of people who are not happy with the changes, especially between the 320 to 380 bracket, and even some of them that are lower, because it's something that they can't attain, the R9, which is what people want even at the lower guild levels. And it's stirring up some trouble in the lower guilds as well as the upper guilds, people shifting around, people wanting to chase that new shiny.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of what we see every time. Every time there's a major change, there's like a big catalyst to move up and try to get your hands on the new stuff. Like, for me, like when CPIT came out, that's when I actually moved from this guild I was in. That was a long time, and they were in the mid 200s or something, and it did hold back my account a little bit. But, I liked the people there, and it was nice and relaxed, and we had a good Discord. There was a lot of good going on in that guild. And it was with CPIT, it was more like we started losing good members that are trying to get the CPIT thing, where I'm like, what, I'm just going to move to a guild that fucking has it on farm so I don't have to deal with it. Because I flat out didn't care. Like, I was like, whatever, I 25th, 30th, that's fine. I'm not trying to get top 10, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what kind of pushed me up, was more that we were losing good people that I knew we wouldn't be able to replace. And so that would just kind of be pushing it farther down, right? Pushing the guild farther down. And then you get that weird thing where you're kind of like a leapfrog guild, where people are basically coming and joining you for a little bit, and then once they get what they need to move up again, they just move up. Because there is something up there that they need to get.
Right. Exactly. And that's hard on a lot of guilds because you got guild hoppers.
Yeah.
They're going after the next thing. So they have no foundation or stability or loyalty to a guild, which a lot of people want to be able to retain members. And it is very difficult to do now, especially with, with the CPIT and especially with TW the way it is now.
Yeah.
It's just a cluster to figure out what's going on and who's going to end up moving, up. People are going to move down. People are going to move all around to try to compensate and try to retain as many members as they possibly can.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Like, it's sort of what CG does every now and then, just to kind of shift things up and kind of force everybody up. And I think, and before I wouldn't have made any kind of connections with it, but I'm really thinking now that CG specifically sees this as a way to kind of make people focus on like growing their roster, so they keep having to move up. Like, if you want this, you need to kind of get the stuff that those big guilds are going to want, and that's going to take some money or time, one of the two. So, and the time is going to have to be super focused, and you're not going to be able to misspend anything. It's it's an interesting it's an interesting thing, but like I said, I wouldn't have really made that connection until probably CPIT is when I started thinking it, and then now with TW the way it is, I'm like, oh yeah, like they're literally pushing people to have these really lean, focused rosters that are going to they're all going to come together in a guild, and they're going to smash like guilds that are more casual, and they're going to get this extra rewards and stuff, and then when that guild gets too thick, gets too like built out, then those accounts will move up to the better PvP guilds above them, and that guild will fall apart. Like I feel like it's sort of like their plan.
It's in a sense, I think that what they want you to do is to be in game, and they want you to be in game as much as possible, because the more you're in the game, the more likely you're going to try to spend money.
Yeah.
And with all these game modes and such, it's very grindy. And what all they are looking at is the numbers. They don't. I get the feeling that they really don't care about the how guilds are constructed and such. They see people as kind of like numbers at the same time. And I'm not saying, and I like Crumb. He's a great guy personally, I really do. And this is not his fault. This is the company that's wanting to money, and how do we get it? And we're going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at these players and see what sticks.
Yeah. I think you're right on that. I think that's definitely something that they're doing. And it's a weird one, because it's like, well, rightly or wrongly, it just is what it is. Like there's not all that much all that much about it. It's strange, because it does feel like they've changed their approach a little bit. Like in the sense where I feel like they've recognized that very casual player that's spending money kind of just offhand is probably their biggest form of income now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going like, how do we get these casual players to become mega Krakens? Like, how do we entice them to do that? That's sort of what we're seeing, I think.
True, but it can also backfire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because of what they're doing, the way that they changed Conquest and the way that they changed TW makes it more grindy, and it forces you into the game, and it forces you to look at it at a different perspective now.
Yeah.
As something that's a little bit more serious and not quite as casual as you like. So that could be good. And it's like, oh, good, they're going to spend more money in the game and we'll be good. But it can backfire and say, that's enough. I've had enough. I can't spend anymore. I've spent all this money, or I'm free to play. The gap is getting so huge that I cannot ever keep up anymore.
Yeah.
My GL, I can get it 2 years down the road, because there's so many GLs out there now that people are not sure what to go for these days.
Yeah, and I think that's also a problem that I'm feeling. This is one that I really feel has come out of it, is CG is sort of making it so that it's harder to justify trying to get all the GLs now, unless you're at a point where you have nothing left to get. It's because now, like with Cat and with JMK Cat, and with Maul going into Lord Vader, we all are speculating that that's going to be a disgusting match combo, and I guarantee it's going to be, just based on what's the biggest thing that holds up Lord Vader is not getting around the taunt, and Maul's a damage machine that gets around the taunt. So I mean, it seems like a match made in heaven, or hell, depending on how you're going to be facing it.
Right.
Yeah, like there's one guy in my arena shard that I'm not looking forward to getting Maul, because he's not in the shard chat. He's very much climbs all out of the time, last week I think he moved to 1 something like 17 times in a day or something like that, just fucking with people's payouts.
Wow.
Yeah, he must have spent 1,000 crystals doing it.
Wow.
But he just did and he has a Relic 9 Lord Vader, and he's taken up his whole team to Relic 8 around it. So he's got a Relic 8 Piet, Relic 8 Vader, Relic 8 Crew, and Relic 8 Royal Guard. So once he gets Maul, I'm just like, this motherfucker's just going to try to sit in 1 all day, just because he's like, ha-ha! Like, look at
that's
me.
going to be his specialty. That's going to be his specialty, because he may be lacking in some of the other areas. And that's what other people are trying to do too. They're trying to really go after one thing that they can get really, really good at.
Yeah.
And then just just be able to develop that and hope it holds for a while until the next. But with the amount of everything that had to go into getting Lord Vader,
Yeah.
he better be good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He
Like
better be good. And unfortunately, this is a particular GL. Now, JMK can do fairly well without Cat.
yeah,
I mean, he's awesome with Cat. Lord Vader doesn't do that well without Maul.
not on
At least
offense.
at
No.
least we're speculating
Yeah.
that. And he doesn't do that well, not that well on defense and not that well on offense. And I don't like the fact that we had to pour into all these resources to get a GL that's half-assed.
Yeah, yeah, and it's an interesting one because he does do some really intriguing stuff. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
seen Lord Vader solo a full First Order Supreme Leader Kylo team that was really well modded and everything, and I was like, oh wow, like that's kind of surprising kind of thing. So I mean that's something that I have seen it do and stuff, but it's not very convincing on offense against kind of literally anything else,
Right.
which is kind of weird because I mean he's super tanky, so you see how this is going to be an issue. And with Maul, maybe it's like in mirrors. Maybe if their Maul kills your Maul, you might time out. Like it's a weird situation for this character, and I'm really interested to see how it goes. Oh my! I was just kind of like casually slicing some mods while we were talking, and I just hit a crit damage square that went to 19, and it was like
Sweet.
a gold, and then I sliced it, and it went to 25.
Those are nice ones.
Yeah, I was like, oh my, I'm gonna bring that up. It's funny because I was just moving around mods before we got started, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'll put that one on Han Solo. It's too good of a mod to anywhere else, since now my Han's at 293. Gotta love that, and then it allows me to update my Echo. Gotta love modding. Modding. Weirdly enough, I genuinely enjoy modding. That's one thing I really like in this game, is the personalizing the characters with
Wow.
the mods.
You are sick. You are really sick.
Yeah, there may be something wrong with my brain, but it seems to work in this
Hmm.
manner. Because I one thing I do pride myself, I have some pretty disgusting mods for my contemporaries, where I am account wise and time that
Uh-huh.
I've played and stuff. So I really like that fact that it's all coming up Millhouse with the mods. That's always good. Hitting some 25s. I just took my Kara back up to speed. So, I used to have a really disgustingly fast Hoth Rebel Scout to get my Mon Mothma team going, so he was at like 325 or something. And now I've got it with because in preparation of my POW being finished, it's like my Kara's now at 320 or 322 or something, which is pretty decent. And that'll be fun to put to use on offense or slick it on defense, whichever.
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, because it's one of those. It's like I know you're going to trooper it, but that means you can't trooper anything else. So,
Exactly.
which is always fun. Anyway, going back to what we were talking about.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, and it's a ton of resources. Once again, you've got Executor coming in, and that was between the GLs, and Executor was a huge amount of resources as
Yes.
well. And it's kind of an interesting thing because like we're seeing the resources needed per GL to go up, and that's understandable, right? Like I understand that they need to have climbing requirements for these, but the issue is the cadence that they're coming out. Like
I agree. Yeah, it's
yeah,
one thing after another. It's conquest. It's the TW. It's the GLs. It's the new tunes that are coming out. It's just one after another,
yeah.
and it's a burnout. It's a realistic burnout.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird spot, but one thing what I've said before is when for me there's been 2 points when I've been playing the game where I was at a really low point, and the first time they pulled it out, it took like a couple of months, but they managed to kind of right the ship and get it back on course, and then it was like full speed ahead, and at the same time like that was around before COVID, but leading into COVID, right? And when you've got well, that's actually no, that's not true. It was like a year before COVID, But like the channel started taking off, and that was fun. And obviously, with COVID hit, and everybody, all these casuals started playing, and the people who were in the game started playing it now. Like, I mean, I remember there was days when I sat at my computer and I was fucking around with mods and talking to people on Discord, and I was literally had the emulator open for like 12 hours. Or I was just on the game for like 12 hours. But I wasn't like desperate to be doing conquest or anything like that, you know what I mean? But it was one of those where you're just kind of like just fiddling with your account, checking out mods, seeing if you want to change anything up, playing with it, going like, if I change this over here, how does that translate over here, kind of thing. And it's a weird thing. And then with COVID ending, and I think we're finally coming out the back of it, like when you look at everything. I feel like, not that COVID's going to be gone or anything like that, but I feel like the worst of it is over, hopefully. And, I feel like, with everybody's going back to work and more people are going to be doing things outside of the house and getting together with their friends and start trying to reestablish those social lives and stuff like that. It makes me wonder how that's going to translate with them upticking all this time extra that they're requiring you here. And once again, it's like, for me, my view on Lloyd Vader is like, why bother? I'm like, I just got JMK, so I'm like 5 months away from Vader because I won't have the relic materials at all.
Right.
Like, I just can't get them fast enough. And they don't even sell packs for them anymore. Not the big packs that they did at the beginning of relics.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah,
Like,
exactly. And with each, relic, it's just more and more resources that are obscene.
yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, how am I supposed to gear my characters if I have to get 500 and some odd pieces of this relic just to make one relic mat? So
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
With the first 4 Galactic Legends that I got, I basically was like, I'll just take everything to G13 and then I'll just push everything to relics. So for like Slacker and JML, which are my first 2, I just had the relic mats. And so as soon as everybody got the G13, I pushed everybody up, and I had enough relics to take, JML to Relic 7, Relic 7 or Relic 8 right off the bat, like first day. With Rey, that was my 4th. Once again, she went to Relic 8 first day. I just had it sitting there. And once again, I had all the relics I needed for everybody. That one was a little bit more taxing with those extra Relic 5s and stuff. Like, that Relic 5 on Rose took a couple extra days, especially to stomach it, right?
I was going to say you just kind of want it, it's like, oh God, I just threw up in my mouth. I had to look her up. Yeah.
You're like looking
well, I
at...
just reliced and Relic 5'd both cups on both of my accounts. So, yeah.
Getting that cup out. All right. It's like, that's actually pretty funny. Cup's an interesting one. Where do you plan to use them, or is it just for funsies?
We've got a plan.
All right, gonna use that stun, are you? All right, I see.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see you.
yeah.
I
He's
see
gonna
you.
he's gonna solo the teams in TW. Yeah, definitely.
That's that's exactly what he was built to do. It's amazing that people are sleeping on that whole GL Cup. He's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, we're starting. We're kind of looking at the bottom of the pile to kind of see what's usable.
Yeah, yeah.
In that sense, and actually, some of them with some of the characters that are out now might not be so bad.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because that's an interesting way to look at it. It's like looking at one of the guys that I always felt is a little bit overlooked. If you're going to be doing some serious cutting and splitting of your teams, would be using Clone Wars Chewie with JMK, because he's Galactic Republic. He's a tank. He's a nasty tank. You can get him well over 100,000 health. I think with I want to say at Relic 5. You can get him up to like 120-ish around Relic 7.
He's also good on a Padme team.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like, and then he has added bonus of being able to slide into a Padme team if you're doing a less than perfect Padme.
especially since we had to all tear apart our Padme team for JMK. So it's like poor Padme sitting out there going, where's all my buds? Where's all my friends?
Yeah, and it's funny because that was actually something that's been concerning me with my account over my last few GACs, was my Padme. It's like if I have to use JMK with any amount of decent Jedi and stuff like that, I'm usually stealing it from her. And I'm in this weird spot where I'm like, well, what do I do with Padme? So I do actually have a plan for Padme in the next like the near future anyway, is as I'm working on Bad Batch. So after POW, I'm gonna get Bad Batch up, and then I guess I'll start working on the starring up all the, because I still don't have Embo to 7 stars. So I'll start working on some of those Lord Vader Rex. So I'm just always kind of in striking distance kind of thing. But I was thinking is like as Bad Batch is coming up, I can take Cody and Sarge and throw it with Padme, and then then you can add Echo, and then after Echo, after Wrecker's ready, then you can add Wrecker, and then you've got actually a decent little Padme clone team that's very secondary, and then it's like as you get more Bad Batch, you can kind of slide them in there until you're ready to use those foursomes to take out whatever Grievous you're facing, because I still see Grievous on defense every single time I do anything. So
Right, yeah. Bad Batch is just really good for that, and like for like TB and stuff, Bad Batch under JMK is awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because Bad Batch themselves aren't that great in territory battles. They'll get screwed up really fast.
Yeah,
Kind of like a Mon Mothma team. It's like Mon Mothma does really well, and then like in this third phase, I just got totally wrecked the first wave. So it was like, oh god, I should have taken something else in.
Well, it's one of those where Mothma is one of those funny ones where I've had such good success with them for so long that I always kind of expect them to be a 4-for-4 team. So when they don't, I get really frustrated. I'm like, what the fuck went wrong? But
right,
it's like,
yeah, exactly.
But it's also Mon Mothma, and literally if one thing goes wrong, it's like completely over.
It's like a domino effect, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's an interesting place for it to be, that team specifically. Like when you look at how that all shakes out essentially, because you've got some interesting stuff like the TM gain and everything that going on there. Even with me running it in TB without POW is kind of, there's a bigger chance to fail because you're not taking all of the turns in a row. There is a little bit of a divide there, and you get some really really kind of interesting stuff happening though when you open up and it's like 2 sniper droids and one of those bastards with the no revive sword or something, and you're like, okay, so there's 3 no revive guys in stage 1. If I come out of here with 5, this is going to be amazing.
Oh yeah, I went in and got 2 sniper droids, and it was like I just got whacked and I couldn't revive anybody. So it was, and of course they were the ones that took out the tunes, not the B2s, not the B1 or whatever.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Like they whittle them down, so and then the sniper droid comes in and finishes you off and just ends your hope and dreams of a good score with it.
I know. I was so mad.
Yeah. Like so there was so with POW you can overcome that start a little bit better, but man, without him you just don't get enough turns, and you just can't do enough damage quick enough, and it just becomes this really bad situation where you're just kind of watching the time bomb load up and you're like,
exactly,
don't hit somebody valuable. like Biston, hit Biston or hit SRP or something, just don't hit Kara, don't hit Hoth, and they've hit Hoth Rebel Scout. Okay, I'm just going to put this on auto and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, first thing they did was take out Kara and Hoth Rebel Scout.
Yeah.
And that was it. Yep. That was I couldn't do anything else.
Yeah, that's the end of the run right there. There's no recovery from that at all. Yeah, and it's once again it's too bad because it's a fun little team because you get you just keep churning, right? It's just like little buzzsaws just going around and just catching, and yeah, I had a bad run with them in stage 2 as well this time because I never got this one before, but I had a Watt team as a 3rd stage, and he dropped the tank tech on Magna because Magna has like 2 gajillion health and protection.
You can't get past that taunt.
You were I was stuck on the taunt the entire time, and I couldn't get at. I think it was either their droidica or their sniper droid or something like that. There was one of them that was just wreaking havoc, and I was just like, if I could just get to him, You know, like I've got a pretty good TM train going here. If I can just
Yeah.
get to him, like we'll be just fine. And it was like, no, I can't. I can't get through this taunt. Okay.
And not only that, but once you get Magna down, because he becomes extremely difficult to take down. If you do, Watt revives him right away.
Yeah, yeah. So the thing that I always try to do when Watt's there, which I couldn't achieve this time because of just the sheer health and protection, was is when the tank tech comes out. What I try to do is just get the protection off so the taunt goes away, and then I just leave them until I kill Watt, and then I can because then I can just deal with it as protection comes back. I can knock the protection off and then go around. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's one of those. I feel like CG's fucking with us a little bit.
Well, yeah, and they've
changing.
tweaked territory battles behind the scenes,
Oh, totally.
definitely. And the Watt combination, there's a couple of combinations that they use that were not there before.
Yeah, I never saw that whatever T4 droid or whatever it is lead on that Jedi mission today. I was
T
so fucking
series,
yeah, the T series.
yeah,
I
the
was
T
so
series, yeah.
mad. Like that was just ridiculous. I'm like, I go in there with JKL, JML. I've done it right. My JKL goes first. I reduce everybody's speed. I feel like I'm cruising, and then all of a sudden, I just don't take a turn. Just again. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you're
okay.
good. Yeah, because you said, and I ran through the same thing in the third wave. I got Geos. Okay,
Yeah.
that was not too bad. Had everybody's health. Everybody was alive. Everybody had full protection. Got into the fourth wave, and the B1 and the B2 started in, and they would just not stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
They would not stop. And all I had was JKL as lead, and JML left, and all I could do was stand there.
Yeah, because the B1s get so astronomically huge so fast that it's just there isn't a way to get through them, and that's the part that's so nuts. It's like, okay, I guess I'll just go screw myself here because there's
Yeah, there
really nothing
was
else I can do.
one time I had a Ray team, and I had JTR on it, and JTR could create that loop
Yeah,
to where she just doesn't die. And I ran into that one time where I had the T series as the lead, and I could not get him to die. And there was a B1 that was left, and yeah, it was just him and the B1 left. They were healing for over 2 billion. And the B1 had by the time I got through, they had over 200,000 stacks.
that's crazy.
I have it recorded. I have it on video.
Yeah, I think I saw a screening of that or something like that. I think CC had something like that happen. Where there was like 4,000 B1s or something stacked up, and I was just like, Jesus. Yeah,
Yeah, and JTR, I finally just forfeited because JTR just kept healing and healing and healing, and I let it run for a long time.
yeah,
And I'm like, how many stacks are on that B1? 200,000
yeah,
plus?
yeah. You're like, that's just not gonna be a thing. Okay.
Yeah, and healing for over 2 billion.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty ridiculous. That's
Yeah.
pretty ridiculous. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's weird. Like, I get TBs need to be hard and everything, but light side geo is not the kind of thing that I expect them to be tweaking harder yet. You know, like they do some dark side tweaks, and I'm like, okay, I get that because at dark side geo, I remember G11, G12 teams in phase one getting 4 for 4s, so I can understand them making that one a little bit harder, you know, to keep up with the way the thing has grown. But like light side geo has been a nightmare since it's been released. It's never been.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's more solved now than before because we have 3 light side galactic legends, but I mean, it's still not easy. It's not an easy day out, that's for sure.
No, and it's really difficult because of the fact that they do tweak it in the background.
Yeah,
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 it's absolutely obvious, and I notice it from account to account that I do. And it doesn't matter what your mods are. It doesn't matter how good you are.
yeah. It
You
doesn't
can
even
get
matter if you're
wrecked.
full like relic 8.
Yeah, you
You're
could
just
be
gonna get
relic
wrecked.
15 and
Yeah,
still get totally wrecked because it's all based. It's this game is so RNG based.
yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, I think like specifically some comps, like the way they set up the certain zones and stuff are just they're really rough. Like they're really rough.
Hmm.
That's one of the things I did notice is like when I got JKL, I mean I could send him with like whatever crap crap Jedi and Hoda, and it was an easy 4 for 4. Where like lately, the last few months, I've been getting like 2 for 4s, 3 for 4s with him, and I'm like,
Yep.
how? Like
Yep.
he was literally built to beat this game mode. Like how are they? Like how is this happening? And I've noticed
Exactly.
I just get stuck on each tune a little bit longer. You know, like before he was like hitting through. Like there was times when I'd screw up the moving to the next wave thing because I was like, okay, there's one character left. He's at like half health. I'll just use the group hug and end it and move in and take my turn. And it's like the group hug doesn't kill him, and you're like, well, shit. Like,
Yeah, that just blew my, next round. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
And now you're
And it's
like,
it's and sometimes, JKL, I have him like really, really hard hitting,
yeah,
and
same.
it's like he hits like a wet noodle
Yeah. So
on some of that.
mine's Relic 8 with like 80% crit chance and over 12,000 offense with crit
Hmm.
damage triangle, and it's like I couldn't make him any better. Like I went through mods, like he's ridiculous, and it's one of those where like you go in there and you're just like, okay, this used to just like as soon as they got into health, he would like literally hit them out of the park, and now it's like,
Hmm.
no, not really. It's like, oh right, because he doesn't no longer ignores armor. Yeah, that this is now really apparent. Like
Yep.
this really does affect things now in TB, whereas against say like Slacker in the JKL counter, it doesn't really affect all that much, and in fact the damage coming off of his stun now is making it a little bit more consistent that you're going to kill Slacker and not just leave him standing. You know, and it's I don't know, it's weird. It's weird how that the changes kind of affect things a little bit. And you look at the nerf to Vader's Culling Blade, and everybody. I get why everybody was upset about it, but going against that Lord Vader with Darth Vader in the team, I'm like, yeah, if he still had that same Culling Blade, like he wouldn't be
Oh
beatable.
my God. Yeah.
He just would not be beatable. Like you would not beat that team. As soon as Darth Vader moved, you were fucked. Like, because there's just so many. He's like, Lord Vader comes out and puts those dots out and the days and all that shit, and
Hmm.
it's just like, and then if Darth Vader's like super fast and he goes second, uh-oh. Like,
Well, and with those nerfs that they did, I think what they should have done was change the GLs a little bit,
yeah,
not to be killed by his culling blade or whatever the case may be, not the actual tune itself, because that was something where Vader got reworked and he was badass again. And
yeah.
he is the most iconic character in the Star Wars
Oh God,
game.
yeah, yeah.
Not just the game, but
The
in the
whole
history of the Star
universe,
Wars
yeah.
universe.
The whole universe,
He's
yeah.
got to be badass.
Well,
Uh,
not only that, he's so accessible, and he's something that everybody loves. I never heard a
Yes.
bad thing about that Vader rework. Even people who only had Rey love the fact that their Vader killed Rey. Like they didn't care that they could lose their Rey to a Vader. They were just like, Vader's awesome now. Like, and it was something universally 100% of people that played the game fucking loved that Vader was amazing. I just
Yeah.
from being a mediocre character to becoming amazing again. Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
like that was, it was always like, hey, how's your Vader modded? And you look at your opponent, you're like, is this guy an idiot? Let me go check out how he's got his Vader modded. Oh, no potency. Yeah, okay, this guy's dumb. All right, we're gonna smoke him.
Exactly.
Like it was one of those. It was very much a judgy thing. There were haves and have-nots and stuff, but everybody had a Relic 7 Vader with 3 Zetas, and you're just always like, okay, how is he going to use them? You go and you look at the mods. Okay, he's going to kill bugs with them. Okay, that's fine.
Right.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's one of those. It's one of those. And it's funny because with JKL the way he is, and with Vader the old Darth Vader the way he was, I was like, they were almost Galactic Legends. They were like that kind of tier, that
Hmm.
level of attack. Yeah. And then they changed it up, and I don't know. I'm curious to see what they do going forward. I mean, I've talked about this a lot, but they've got to add like 20 something ships, and I don't mean cap ships. I mean ships.
Ships, they
Yeah,
do, because there's a lot of factions that need to be filled out. And I don't mean just a few. They
yeah,
need to fill out the whole front end and the reserves, and even have a couple extra ships that you can swap out.
yeah.
But you can't have just these are the only ships you can use with this cap ship, and that's it. You're not going to have much of a choice. But oh my god, yeah, desperately, desperately, desperately in need of ships.
Yeah, like I was talking about this with Dagger the other day. He says like he was saying six per faction per fleet or whatever is net mandatory. I was thinking seven, but because you could do some pilotless ships and you bring it up that way and
Hmm.
adjust it so pilotless ships come off of the relic of your admiral, so that way it forces you say you want to use Radis against somebody, it forces you to take your Holdo up to like relic 7 so that your pilotless ships can be a relic 7
Be a
ship.
part
And
of that. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
or
Yeah,
relic 8 or whatever. You might have to relegate all of the admirals at some point due to their
that would be
pilotless
awesome.
ships. Or relic 9 much farther down the line, like years from now, if this game's still around. But and it's a kind of interesting thing. Like one of the things I think is to get people to go back and want to get those first GLs that they might have missed. But I was thinking, man, Slacker and Ray absolutely need a Galactic Legend ship. Those two fleets are so ship needy, and they're both good
Yes.
fleets. And if you make it semi accessible, like not a crazy gear smash to get like a Galactic Legend ship for them, like maybe you need to do my original thought is if you have it so like all pilots must be relic 7, people will do it and they'll get that ship, they'll go back and get Ray and get the Ray ship because Holdo's fleet's great, it does so much.
Hmm.
But it was funny, somebody mentioned that it would have to be like the opposing ship, and I'm like, that's also cool. Like that's all. Like if you have to have like the first order fleet all relic 7 to get the Ray ship, I could see people would be cool with that. Like people would be cool with that because most people have Slacker and so many lean accounts. They just aren't gonna bother getting Ray like ever.
Hmm.
So getting them to go get Ray, I think, is really important. I think in terms of trying to get everybody to get all the GLs. So like if I'm CG, that's one of my primary goals is going to be not just getting them to buy into the new Galactic Legends, but getting them to go get the ones they don't have
Right.
from that are no longer as good because they've absolutely not protected those investments.
I
Like
agree. Yeah.
it's
People put a lot into those first GLs, and now we've got GLs 2.0,
yeah,
and
exactly, yeah,
the next sets could be GL 3.0.
yeah. That's
And,
sort
and
of where I
so
think
where
it's
does
going to
that
go.
put,
Yeah,
yeah, so where does that put the first GLs? Here you invested all this resources, time, energy, crystals, money, whatever you did with it, and they're practically like just another tune.
yeah. Like there's little things like when they tweak the usability, right? So weirdly JML has done the best out, I think, of the original four
Hmm.
in terms of his ability to counter the 2.0 GLs because he beats Ray Cat and he also beats Lord Vader. Does he
Right.
beat Vader with Maul? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
kind of doubt it, but we'll
Yeah.
see when that comes out. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly doubt it as well, but I'm sure with how strong Jedi are that somebody will come up with a contingent of Jedi that overcome the unique problems that Maul brings to the table. You might see something like just like with JMK, you might see the Jolie variant come back. Where you got the revives in there, try to keep the team up.
Hmm.
You know, might see some Relic 8 Jolies soon if that's the case. you
Yeah,
know,
exactly. Yeah, maybe even, who knows, maybe even a Relic 9 Jolie at some point.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I just try to think about how they're going to come through that initial like burst, because Jedi are pretty soft, even though they do so much and they do it so well, and they've got three of the best Jedi. Like Jedi have three of the best leads in the game,
Yeah, but
JKL,
some of them are,
JML, and
the support
JKR.
cast is very squishy.
Yeah. That they've always kind of for some reason made them that way. The Jedi are just super thin, super flimsy. They tend to be like glass cannons. The way that they've kind of put their kits out over the years, like that was the funniest thing about JML. It's like, wait, you're giving us a really sturdy, tanky GL tank Jedi?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
like where did this come from? I thought it was supposed to be like every team requires General Kenobi because that's what you've been telling us for years.
Well, and even the Resistance faction with Rey, they're
Yeah.
very squishy as well.
Oh, totally.
You've
Yeah.
got your hero boys, and oh
They're
man,
super squish. Super
they really
squish.
are. They really need to be beefed up, and perhaps they can make Rey be able to give them a little bit more of something to make them more survivable. Because in territory battles, I'm really noticing that if you're using that resistance faction with the hero boys,
Yeah.
that they're not holding up as well.
Yeah. Not anymore. No. Even with all their recovery, they're just not doing it.
Yeah.
And so I did have an idea about that, and I know some other people have mentioned it, so I'm not trying to say it's like a unique thought that I had, but looking at what Kat did and what Maul's probably gonna do, one thing they could also do, besides Galactic Legend ships for Kylo and Rey, is they could do a character like Kat or like Maul that comes in and basically beefs up that team, right? Like
Hmm.
works in conjunction with that Galactic Legend and makes that team more appropriately powered,
Right.
which sadly might be a Conquest thing. I really hate the Conquest release of characters. I literally would love to ignore Conquest for the rest of my days.
I would too. Honestly, I would too. It's too much. Yeah, because we've got Conquest, we've got light side territory battles, and then it's Conquest is also going to run into territory wars.
Yeah,
That's a lot, and especially if you're a GL or officer in a guild,
yeah,
you're doing so much coordinating and everything else for the guild. This is a huge grind, and
right.
it's a very big stress factor for a lot of people and time.
Well, I used to love TW. TW was something I
Hmm.
really looked forward to for a long time. And then we were a little bit casual for a little bit, which was nice having a little break from it. But
Hmm.
now with the 50s, I'm sitting here the same problems I had with Conquest. So like Conquest, there's nothing wrong with the battles. There's nothing wrong with the climb through the thing. I don't mind it. It's just the mindless, repetitious feats that are the worst part of Conquest, and they've made that the only thing that really matters. So Territory Wars, being a former Territory Wars officer in guilds that were trying to be competitive, the worst part of Territory Wars was the coordinating everybody, and that
Yeah.
was with 25. And so like they haven't given us any more time, and they're just like, okay, now coordinate 50 because just reasons.
Just because we
Yeah,
wanted to throw with one thing, with Conquest, when they changed it, they went over the deep end in a
yeah,
sense. They
yeah.
just they overdid it.
They
The
jumped the
same
shark.
with to me, the same with TW. They could have either done something gradually
Yeah,
or, and kind of work our way into it, make a little change. There's lots of things they could have done to make it a little bit more interesting,
yeah.
like the old modifiers.
Well, I wasn't thinking so much the modifiers, but I mean, the way that they could have done this is they could have just gradually added zones and stuff to the map and changed the
Hmm.
map.
Yeah.
And then, and that would have added a few extra battles, but it wouldn't be walls of 50. And I don't think CG quite understands the unique problem that a wall of 50 creates, because what we've been seeing, because we faced, obviously two of the best guilds in the game in PvP back
Right.
to back, and they just set us 50 Lord Vaders and 50 Ray Cats on the front. We can beat them, but getting all 50 of them down took damn near all of our time because we're
Yeah.
waiting for people with the counters that could take them down. And it's
Yeah,
like,
and you
well,
need all 50 people to be participating at a certain time. And that's one thing
that's
that
the
they
problem.
didn't take into consideration,
Yeah.
is that if it's like, surprise, we're going to give you double the defense, and you go in and you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And but the problem is that your guilds these days have multiple time zones.
Yeah.
You've got multiple time zones for people, and it's only 23 hours for offense days
Yeah.
because they cut it from defense day and by an hour. I don't know why they do that, but they do. and it's only 24 hours. Now, if they gave us a 36 to 48-hour window
Yeah.
with that, then that would be so much less stress for officers
Yeah. Yeah.
to be able
Yeah.
to deal with, because it is a lot. And I don't have much in terms of TW staff. I have a couple people that help out whenever they can, but they work.
Yeah, it's
And
also
they
whenever they can.
Yeah, and they have jobs to where they can't just hop on a phone and be able to do some of the things that they need to do. So that leaves it up to me
yeah, yeah,
to, basically, in a sense, plan defense, or at least previously, but we're trying to do it ahead of time now, and that's going to
yeah,
change. But it was me, and it was me leading it, me designing it, me doing the defense, and me opening up the bot and getting it coordinated and stuff. And I don't like TW.
yeah, yeah,
I don't care for I used to. I think when I was I wasn't actually, technically, I really wasn't even a soldier in the guild. I've always been like an officer or leader, but I just I'm tired. I'm burned out.
yeah,
I'm literally burned out of all of this, because it's back-to-back game modes, and they've cranked it up, and I'm tired. I
yeah.
really am tired.
I'm really curious to see how it's going to go with conquest overlapping on TW. That's going to be interesting seeing people's activity levels there.
Mhm.
And like we've had the 3 conquests back to back to back, which is just
It's insane. Yeah, and
yeah,
they made it so incredibly grindy.
and so incredibly
Yeah.
mandatory. Like they're going to say, well, you don't have to do it, but yeah, you kind of do. If you're
And that's the same way as kind of like with TW, it's still optional, but not.
Yeah, it's the only way. It's the only way to do this unless you spend $70 on the pack, but or $50 or whatever it is on the pack. That'll get you halfway there. So, I mean, you don't have to do it, but
Right.
you know, yeah,
And
and
that's what they want. They want people in the game. They want people to force people to get in the game, log in more, potentially spend money to try to stay up with everybody else.
yeah,
And it's at a much, much lower level at the beginning of the game. You don't really have to worry about that. You can play casually. You can
exactly.
do your thing. You don't have to chase Galactic Legends. It's just a beginning of the game. In the middle of it, you're kind of at that cusp. You're not at the beginning, but you're not quite at the top of the tier.
Yeah,
You can still play the way that you want to. You might want to become a little more focused, kind of see what options are out there for what your roster is, how you want to develop it. And then you've got the top. And if you can't stay at the top, you're screwed.
yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say there's one of my viewers. He's a shard mate, and he's got everything right. So if I'm a spender and I have like 7 million GP, he's got like 9. So I'm looking at someone like him. He's got everything first day kind of stuff. I mean, it's mandatory for him to do those conquests and get the top box. It is
Uh-huh.
mandatory, because if like where he's at, say in GAC and in TW, it's if he doesn't get it, well, he's probably gonna have to kind of adjust his play style. He's no longer going to be a competitive player. He's going to have to be more on the casual
Right.
side.
And may find himself out of the guild or moved to another guild.
Well,
Because
that's
like I said,
what I was kinda getting at, yeah.
there's guilds that kind of think of people as just a number.
Yeah, those guilds at the very, very top can't afford to do that. Go, well,
Yeah,
if you're not going to
exactly.
whale out to get this character, then, well, we'll give you this much time, but if you don't have it by then, like, we've got somebody else that has it that wants to come in. They're willing to spend to get it, so figure it out.
Right. Right. And that's just the way that they operate.
Yeah.
I have nothing against. That's just the way that they operate. Yeah.
It's not a knock on them or anything like that. It's just
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Not at all.
It's just one of those where it's like, well, I mean, that's sort of just where you are.
Right. And that's why I like to provide options, like, with my guild and stuff like this. It's like, okay, Are you burned out on TW? Well, come here because it's a little bit more chill.
Yeah.
We've got a really good atmosphere kind of thing. You could kind of relax, perhaps retire from the game in the guild or whatever, but that's becoming not possible these days. I have
Yeah.
to kind of think of things as a number, and I hate to do that because
Yeah.
I absolutely adore my members. And I can see, and I've already got people leaving because of what TW has become. And that makes me sad because I know at least one of them's been in the guild for over 4.5 years. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's always kind of those tough things
yeah,
that happen.
it's really sad.
Yeah, that's one of the things I didn't like happening. As everything going through is like viewers on the channel and stuff, just like, hey, I'm just out. Like, sorry I haven't been around, but I don't want to play anymore, kind of thing. And it's like, oh,
Right.
okay, I totally understand. Like, don't worry about it. I get it. But it sucks to lose people you've been talking to for a year plus, 2 years,
Hmm.
something like that. Yeah, and I know there's some people are saying that there are more players now than there have ever been in this game, which is fine. But I also feel like they're probably more of the casual couch player. Like they're watching Netflix and playing this for like an hour or two a day, and
They're the
then
casual, lower beginner players,
yeah. And
not the higher players. Mm-mm.
what I've been seeing on the higher players is you're seeing more and more just through listening around is that you're hearing more and more of these like ultra high end accounts being available very cheaply on the for sale server, and that to me is a little bit worrying about the time commitments and stuff that they've got there. But like I
There's,
said,
yeah,
yeah, but like I said, they've pulled it out of a darker place before, really, in like a couple of months. So I mean, we'll see how where we are around Christmas time. I definitely
I'm really hoping they ease things up for a while because we honestly, when something comes out, we need time to settle. We need
yeah
time to absorb it and to learn it and to relax, enjoy it.
yeah
And if we can't do that and we kind of go from bang, bang, bang from one thing to the other, it's like, oh my God, this is just too much for my brain to handle.
yeah yeah. So one thing I do think will happen, I think we're gonna get another Bantamlight legendary like from the Book of Boba because that's coming out soon.
Hmm.
So I think that the obviously it's all foreshadowed with Fennec Shan coming, so this is not some sort of prophetic thing.
Who do you think else might come out?
Uh,
I think
I
they might
want to
redo a
say
Boba. I think they might do another Boba.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get Boba.
Potbelly Boba?
Yeah, Dad bod Boba, and he's gonna. I think he's gonna be a tank, a bounty hunter tank. Just from what we saw with him with the gaffy stick, I'm like, I
Mhm.
see him being a tank, and I think they might also release. I can't think of his. I can't think of the character's name, but the Timothy Oliphant character from Mando.
Oh, I can't remember his name, but I know
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
who you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
With Boba's armor on, like where he had
Uh-huh.
that thing. I think we might get him. I think that's a really viable option. I think and here's the crazy one. I think we might get some new Sand people. Just gonna throw it out there. Um,
Well, yeah, Tuscans are the end game. So,
yeah, exactly. If you don't have Relic Tuskens, are you really playing this game? Let's be honest.
exactly.
Yeah, so I would think that this is a good opportunity to get some Tuskens because of the whole Crate Dragon storyline.
Hmm.
And that would finally give us a faction of 5 Tuskens, and I would imagine them to be similar to Mandos or Geos or something like that, like a very BC team, tier team, but that are tricky, and yeah, I look forward to that. That's a cool little ad. I wouldn't have any issues with that coming at all, especially with the Tusken being like relic required for Lord Vader. So there's going to be a lot of relic Tusken just kind of sitting there. But yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking is going to happen before the next Galactic Legends set come out.
Hmm.
I think we've probably got a good 5-6 months before the next set of Galactic Legends kind of start being oozed at us. GL 3.0.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind them waiting even a month or two longer than that, just for, you know, some people to kind of try to catch up just a little bit
What
so they don't fall too far behind.
what I would really like them to do, and I think I don't know if they would do this, but what I would really like them to do is to take like a year break. So not including like including what's already happened, from
Right.
adding like an extra 9 months or something break from the next set of GLs.
Yes.
The reason I want this is for ships. Give us fucking ships. Just give us ships. I don't care if they got pilots. I don't care if they're pilotless. Start releasing some fucking ships. Like I want some ships. Like I want them to do the ships. I think this is really getting out of hand. With the Executor dropping and stealing all the bounty hunter ships from all the other fleets. It's like we need some fucking ships.
Yeah, it's thin. It's so
Yeah.
thin, and you try to put something together, and you can't.
Yeah.
You can't fight these other big ships and everything because you have nothing left.
Yeah. And it's nuts. It's nuts. Like I would have put money down that a new cap ship wasn't coming. I would have thought that they were gonna leave bounty hunters with Thrawn as like a B tier ship, team comp or something like that. Like they kind of were like, hey, this works. I didn't think Executor was coming. In that sense because we don't need another cap ship. We definitely don't need another Empire cap ship. I don't care if it's bounty hunter synergy or not. We've got 3 Empire cap ships now. Like
Yeah.
we can make
Yeah,
2 fleets out of them.
we need to see
Like,
something else. We need
yeah.
to see something else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we have way too many cap ships, not enough ships. I mean, we've got like what 44 non-cap ships or something. We need like 70.
At least.
And they've got to be easy to get. Like we need to have like not all of them, but most of these ones are going to need to be like galactic chases. They're going to have to, they're going to have to do double drops and stuff like that and try to get people working on ships because I mean, if you're behind in ships, why even bother? Like that's like it. Like when you're
Right.
behind in ships now, like you're so far behind. Like you see people set a negotiator and executor, and it's doable, it's counterable, but it's not great. Like I faced that, and I 2-shot both and got them down, and won my GAC round. But I mean, that's a hard defense to face because you've only got a couple of ships that work. If you've set your executor, like you're gonna be a little bit thin. Like you got to mal down the executor, probably do a cleanup with your finalizer, and then you're looking at rebels on the negotiator if you've also set your negotiator, and that can go wrong. I mean,
And then you're stuck with nothing.
yeah, and then you literally don't have a cleanup for that because there's literally
Yeah.
nothing you can do. Like you,
Yeah. You've just got those crap ships to stick with Thrawn or Tarkin. And even then, you're still not going to have enough to be able to fill up the reinforcements if
yeah,
necessary.
it's
So
like you'll do like
there's no synergy.
yeah, it's like you've got your Empire and you've got Holdo with no tank, and you've got like when you're looking at it, you're like, well, geez, I just don't really have all that much, and
Yep.
and trying to get down a negotiator with dregs is not going to work. So
They really need to look at like the different factions of ships that they have and figure out what really needs to go with those factions.
yeah,
For the basics for just about any kind of faction, in any kind of game, in any kind of like game at all, you've got to have a tank.
yeah,
And usually maybe somebody that heals, in some way. You
or,
can make them different with different types of skills that interact in that sort, not just a straight tank or a straight healer or
yeah,
whatever, but each of the factions, so you don't stretch yourself so thin that you're just unable to even come close to being able to use every team, every capital
yeah.
ship.
So yeah, what I was thinking with Resistance is you can get like, you can do the classic pilotless bomber, but what I'd like to see with Resistance, I'd like to see Ray's Galactic Legend ship be a tank for that fleet. I think that would be, if it's like a semi-reoccurring taunt, like a taunt that's fairly easily achieved, that fleet would be like a genuine contender against anything.
Yeah.
And it would really force people to go and look at it. And with Kylo, you get him as Whisper from episode 3, episode 9, the third of the new ones. And you don't even have to make him a tank. You just make him so he has a cleanse, like a hyena bomber like attempt, where he can cleanse other people and or force a mark onto his own ship, so he can change the focus around and what you have to hit or what you're hitting, like something like that. Like that would be really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that would make that fleet once again contend with just about anything. Like and those fleets would go up seriously in preeminence. And then with Resistance, you'd still need at least 2 more ships. You could do a pilotless ship that's either also a tank or a support ship or something like that. And you can do, like, bring in Zori Bliss, maybe. We know she's in the game files. Bring her in, give her a ship. She has a ship, obviously, from episode 9, so bring that in. And, maybe she's an attacker, maybe she's support, maybe she's a tank, who knows. But, like, then Resistance has 6 ships. God forbid. And, First Order need 2 more ships. I would like to see that Slacker's Whisper, and I'd like to see a pilotless ship. I think every faction should get a pilotless ship.
Right.
And whether it's a tank or support, who knows? Who cares? Like, just they need ships, and as long as they play to the focus, right? Like, if their pilotless ship was literally a clone of Plo, First Order would be a genuine contender. They don't even need a tank if they've got Slacker's ship pass and mark around, and then you've got a secondary Plo in First Order's, like, pilotless ship. That team could literally take out everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's one of those. It's like I've thought about this way too much, obviously.
But yeah, and I've thought about it too, because if we, like, every faction ship, like the 7 ships.
Yeah, I think 7
and then
is the
have
right one.
a couple of extras that you can play with.
That's why I think
that you can switch things up, because if you've got this faction with the same exact ships and they don't really go with any other capital ship, that's going to lead to being extremely boring.
Yeah. So I love ships like the Ebon Hawk and Lando's Falcon, because you can kind of drop them all over your teams. I'd love to see another ship like an Ebon Hawk or Lando's Falcon that's like that. I'd like to see Hondo get a ship come into the game, and he could he could just be a cargo ship, or even you can
Hondo needs to come in the game, period.
Yeah, flat out. I mean, this is one of the most popular guys that's not in the game. Just literally, like, he's well more popular than Jar Jar, and people call for Jar Jar. So come on. Like,
Hondo's awesome, man. He just needs to be in the game.
Like, I was even thinking, like, you could even do a pirate faction and have a full thing. Just start pulling from all over. I mean,
he could switch sides.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it'd be really cool if you had something like that. Yeah, he could switch sides according to what you need him for, and then he has different skills for each side.
Yeah, so, like, under a dark side cap ship, he provides X. Under a light side cap ship, he provides Y. And it's like the whole kit is like 2 kits. Like, that would be so cool.
That would be so cool. And the same in-game as a tune as well.
Yeah. That, once again, perfect, because he's that classic, obviously you give him Scoundrel, Smuggler, and maybe even Bounty Hunter.
Manipulator.
Yeah.
In a sense, yes.
Just pirate. Like, even a new faction, like I said, pirate. He's a space pirate. Like, full on, no bones about it. He's that kind of guy. And he's such a colorful character, and I think they could have really good fun with his kit, and make it, pretty ridiculous. And maybe he's amazing, maybe it's not. It depends on the team, or there's something like Newt Gunray, where, like, if all the cards align, it's pretty ruthless, and if you've got the right characters with it and stuff. I think that would be really, really cool.
Yeah, if he's on the light side, he could be doing this. It just depends upon how you want to manipulate him.
Yeah.
On which team, and that could throw, kind of a loop, in a sense, for, like, TB or even TW, GAC or something like that, because you're not sure how he's going to be interacting with any particular characters on there, and I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. That would create a lot of opportunities to try new stuff and experiment and things, and see some really interesting sets, and I mean, I look at this and I'm like, this is a no-brainer for me just as a player, but as CG, are they going to do it? I don't know. But I think that would be a really fun part of the, like, a segment of the game. I feel like that specifically, if they went and took a bit of a breather on Galactic Legends, and they go, okay, we're going to start releasing that shipload of content here. And they start just dropping ships left, right, and center, on chases, going through double drops when they come out, for farm and all this stuff. And people will be buying vaults just to rip through the chases, trying to get these ships right away. I think they'd make a lot of money, and it would be fun and something that people actually want. Yeah.
Yeah, and things that are a little bit more obtainable for
Yeah.
just most everybody, and that's what's needed right now too.
Because it's an easy decision. You're like, oh god, they're dropping Hondo and his ship, and it's gonna be a chase on both of them, and I'm like, I'll spend a vault on that. I'll figure that out. But with the Galactic Legend, it's like, do I want to spend the $700 or $800 necessary to get me close to this before it drops? No, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, and
You
then
know,
spend more to get,
yeah,
whatever crystals for tickets and stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah.
it's yeah,
It's like there's
exactly.
nothing fun about that Galactic Legend grind, and I think that the like having a really crazy 4 or 5 months or 6 months of just ships dropping everywhere, all sorts of events for them and stuff. I think that would be hugely fun. I think the community would have a lot of fun with that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And more importantly, like figuring out how these new ships fit in and what under what cap ships are they going to do the best. And I literally am just hungry for this. I really want this to happen. I should make a video specifically about that. Be like, all right, CG, listen to me here. You listen good. Like, it's like, this is what you need to do.
Uh-huh, exactly.
And the fun thing is about it is I think people that don't like ships would like ships a lot more if there were more options for the countering the meta as well. Like
Uh-huh. More
because
mixing and matching,
yeah,
more synergy, more something
yeah,
that would
exactly.
make it more interesting.
Yeah, and you saw some great stuff with Holdo. At the countering Malevolence and countering Negotiator. You saw great stuff with Finalizer countering the Negotiator. I know people say Malevolence can get countered by the Finalizer as well, but I've never seen it, so I don't know. I'm sure
Mhm.
there's videos, but I haven't watched them. Um, you know, Rebels are always kind of hanging around, so like maybe you drop CLS's Red 5 along with Ray's Red 5 and make that a thing, right? And you make it so Rebels once again are like semi preeminent. And then you've got like, obviously all of that would drop, in 6 months at the end of the ship run, because that gives everybody who whaled on the Executor 6 months of preeminence at the top, and then as these counters come out and become really solid counters, as these new ships drop in, you've got the people who are behind on the Executor catching up as the counters are coming out, right? Like as they're going to be able to counter everything, and
Mhm.
then that I think would make people pretty hungry for those counters. So they would have these off meta counters and stuff, and I don't know. I think it would be just super fun, especially with how TW and GAC are now, where everybody just sets their Executor and just okay, it's your problem now. We'll see how you deal with it. And then they set theirs, and you're like, well, this is my problem. I'm gonna see how I deal with it. Like maybe we get through fleet zones, maybe we don't. Let's see. Like
Right.
yeah. So instead of that, it'd be one of those where it'd be back to business on fleets, which I think is really important. And I think the people who stay up on fleets should be rewarded, and should have things like those off meta counters and stuff. Like you get Ray and Slacker's GL ships coming out at the exact same time. And honestly, with that, if they're as good and they do so much for that fleets, you could even push back GL 3.0 for a little bit, because people will be spending to get their, if they don't have Ray or Slacker, they will go and get them
Mhm.
to get that the ability to counter something like an Executor with a Radis fleet. Like that would be huge. Or Executor with the Executor. Once
Right.
again, that would be huge. So
Exactly.
I think there's a lot of earning potential for CG, so it makes sense. It makes sense anyway. Yeah, I've just been ranting here. Sorry about that.
No, no, no. I mean, this is what we need to talk about, this
Yeah,
kind of a thing. Kind of get it off our chest, talk about ideas, talk about what we like about the game, maybe what might need to be changed, and we're not necessarily being negative about anything. We want to offer, suggestions and just talk about the fact that maybe, things aren't quite right in the game, but
yeah.
here's a way to maybe fix it.
Well, see, yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
that kind of
exactly
thing.
that's exactly right. Like, I want this game to be amazing because I spend so much time playing it. I have a
Mhm.
very vested interest in this game being awesome, and I want it to be awesome. So whenever it's not awesome, I'm like, oh, come on! Like, all you had to do was slam it. You just go for the slam dunk, and instead you're shooting from outside the arc. Come on now, like,
Right.
like, yeah. So I don't know. And I think, like I said, I think it would be a lot of fun to have that kind of ship frenzy, and I think a lot of people would get into it.
Yeah, I know I would. I
Yeah,
know I would, definitely.
yeah. Like I was getting excited just talking about it. I'm like, oh my god, they could do this and they could do this. Like this is gonna be so good. You know, if they were to do this. You know, like,
Yeah, but I agree that, we really do need to take a break from tunes. We
yeah,
do. We just need to kind of put that aside, and it's like, okay, now it's ship time,
yeah,
to be able to do this because people just they need a breather
yeah.
in every aspect of the game right now. And in a sense, with the TW and stuff, I really hope they tone it down a little bit, because when they set that up, they kind of went way over
Yeah.
the other end of the rainbow, and they need to just dial it back a little bit. In what way? There's lots of different options for that.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, give us some fun things. Yeah.
The fix that makes the most sense to me for TW, and it's like not a very desirable one, is you make it so there's only one TW between the territory battles. Sorry, but
Yeah.
like then you get 2 days sign up, 2 days to set defense, 2 days to attack. Or
Yeah.
fuck, 1 day sign up, 2 days set defense, 3 days to attack. I know that's not ideal. I know that's a slow pace, but I mean that's almost what they're forcing us to have to do.
Right. And it would honestly be a lot of relief for
Everybody.
officers, honestly. Yeah, because there's so much, there's time to where you can actually discuss what's going on,
Yeah,
how to do it, instead of this rush, 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 rush,
yeah,
defense open. So I only have like, a couple hours to get defense out, and
yeah, yeah,
trying to do all that. It's very difficult to do when people have families, they have work, they have real lives, they have different time zones,
yeah.
and so little time to be able to do this in. And
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
would just be nice if it was dialed back a bit.
Yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. And I think that's the fairest thing is to make it one. If they want to keep on the cadence of two, like you have to start talking about cutting signups to half day, doing like 18 hours to set defense, that kind of thing, to give you like what 36 hours or something, or 40 hours to do attack or something. And I don't even think that's enough, but I think that's sort of what they have to do if they want to keep that 2 TW cadence,
Hmm.
just with what they're asking. Because if they don't want to dial it back, well, I mean, you got to do something. You got to do something because there's only so many guilds in this game that are going to be able to coordinate 50 attacks in a short period of time, um, and that's just because that's how they do TW anyway. So it works out that way. They share access to each other's accounts so that if you're not around or can't do it, somebody will go and do the attack for you. That kind of thing. And like I said, that's not. I don't think that's ideal. I don't think that's what everybody wants. And I don't think it's right to ask for that coordination from a game like this. Sort of like with
Yeah.
CPIT, the exact same arguments. It's like you're asking us to coordinate on a massive scale in a very a short period of time, and this is causing problems. And they heard it on CPIT and they changed it, but then they went and did TW, which is exactly the same thing, asking the exact same things. It's like, well,
Right. Right.
you had to go adjust this already once, like on this other thing. So why did you do it again? Like I don't follow. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand the, in a sense, the thought process and stuff. And it seemed like it wasn't completely thought through of all the scenarios that could, okay, if we do this, how is it going to affect?
The
And
players.
it just wasn't looked that closely at,
Yeah.
for that, because there's guilds to where they've built a community, they've built a family within that guild,
Yeah.
and they're being torn apart
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
in this, and I am seeing guilds fold like crazy.
Yeah, well, not only that, like that also leads to other people not wanting to play because it's a negative experience that they're sharing with other people that they have some sort of bond with after all this time together.
Right.
And it's like, well, you see crazy stuff. Like in my chat the other day, one of the guys was saying that his guild lost 8 people in one day,
Right.
8, and they didn't go to another guild. They straight up retired, and some of it was a chain retire. Like I think 3 or 4 of them retired, like planned to, and then a bunch of other people were like, you know what? Yeah, I'm out. And then that it just went that way, and that's kind of crazy. It's like 8 in a day. Yo,
Yeah.
that's huge. That's like 40 to 70 million GP just walking out the door, you know, like
Yeah,
you know.
when you've had enough, you've had enough, and
Yeah.
that's and even at the tippy top,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Yeah.
also coming into effect too. I'm seeing a lot more accounts, uh, people just either dropping it and saying that I'm not playing anymore. I can't spend another dime in this game
Yeah.
because, like for example, when Relics came out, there's people who put 50 to $200,000 into these
Yep.
accounts.
Yeah, 100%.
And audience, yes, people do spend that kind of money, and if they have the money, that's fantastic. They can do
Yeah.
whatever they want with it. But
Yeah.
as soon as Relics came out, that negated every single penny that they put into the game up to that point,
Yeah.
and they had to start all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's pretty crazy. That and it's that's sort of like, as the game evolves, the way that people spend and stuff is going to be mostly negated by changes and stuff, and the way
Yes.
that they increase power levels and all that. I mean, that's a little bit understandable in that sense, but it's a hard thing as a player to go, well, I've spent all this money to get myself to point A, and now I'm even with everybody again. Like
And now
that's
I'm forced to go to point B.
yeah, yeah, and it's another humongous
Yeah.
i- i- you know investment, yeah. I mean, there are obviously people that do it. I mean, we've seen it. Like there's 10 million plus accounts and stuff. So they've got like everything at Relic 7 or better, and fair play to them for doing that. Having that there. One of the things that I find kind of interesting is, and it's not really an angle that hasn't really been talked about with all these increased requirements and everything, is if you're like a new player, what the fuck do you do now? Like, there was always an understandable path to developing your account, so
Mhm.
you could start getting crystals in the arena pretty quickly. Now, no, not happening.
Yep.
Not happening. I don't care how much money you spend. I'm sorry. There's no way you're getting crystals anytime soon, because Lord Vader, yeah, good luck. JMK, good luck. Like, you're not getting that character fast. You're just
Yeah,
not.
if you don't get into a brand new shard when you're ready, then you're screwed.
Yeah,
You're
like,
screwed and you're going to be in the thousands for a very, very, very long time and not get a thing.
oh, I mean, like, if you've got like a horde account for 2 years, you're still not getting either of those Galactic Legends anytime soon. So
Hmm.
that means you're spending your resources on another one to get up to the crystals farming, which is going to be probably C or Slacker, because they're the most achievable by like a horde account or a new account that's spending. Um, And then it becomes a situation where it's like, okay, now you've got Slacker, so now you've got to choose one of these new ones to stay in the crystal thing, but you won't have Maul and you won't have Cat, and you do not have the GP high enough to get that character fast.
Right.
So that's going to be a problem. You've got these things, and obviously the contemporaries in the Shard will, be in the similar spot, except for the people that are really invested in the spending. Someone maybe whales to 4 million super quickly so they can start getting their mall ready or whatever, right? Um, and that puts you in a weird spot where it's like, okay, now you're getting crystals and hoarding, right? And waiting for the next set to drop. But if the cadence changes, then you just sit and sit and sit and just keep
And you
sliding farther back.
perpetually sit all the whole time because it's like, oh, now that one's passe, so let's wait for the next one.
Yeah,
Oh, I can't. Yeah, that one's passe now because the next one's released. So you're
yeah.
always going to be sitting there hoarding, 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 and not end up getting anywhere because you can't make a decision on what you want to do.
Yeah, yeah, or like right now, if I was a horde account or whatever, I wouldn't be going for Lord Vader or JMK. I'd be waiting for the sort of like the requirements to start dripping in for the next one, just
Hmm.
because at this point, their cadence, you expect, like maybe 3 to 4 months after Maul drops, they're going to start dropping Rex for the next Galactic Legend,
Hmm.
and I mean that's not with the way that they're requiring developments. Number one, you're probably going to need a Relic 9 somewhere.
Yeah, I'm
And
betting that the next set of GLs there's going to be at least one R9 in each of them, maybe.
Yep, Yeah.
And that's in a sense that's I can understand it, but at the same time, stop it.
Yeah. Well,
because if I have my R9 and what it took to get it,
yeah.
that's where I want to put it. I don't want the game to tell. I don't want CG to tell me where to put. The same with
And
the
it's always,
Relegates.
and it's like a bad one too, right? Like
Oh my god.
it's
Oh
like,
my god. Well, like for the Lord Vader, we had all those R8s that we had to do, and I'm like, but that's not on my list.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like,
I don't want to be forced into relic aiding something and spending all that resource on something I'm not ready to relic 8 yet.
well, it's like I like the character, I like the Dooku tune, but he doesn't need to be Relic 8. He doesn't need to be
Yeah,
Relic 8 anytime soon. Like
right.
you know, little things like that, and it's strange because I don't see that changing. And with so many guilds not being able to get Relic 9, I mean that's just going to lock them out of GL's
Oh,
3.0.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because you're going to have to expect the cadence to follow. Like, you know, the light side's going to need one Relic 9, and then the dark side's going to need two. You know what I mean? Like, and it's
Yeah,
not going to
they're
be the
just gonna
Galactic
beef it
Legend.
up. They're gonna
Yeah.
beef it up every single time.
Yep.
You're gonna have
100%.
like, probably 5 relic 8s and 1 relic 9 or something. And it's like,
Uh,
how far is too far?
well,
It's like, come on, make these if you want the GLs to be relatively even, stop increasing the amount of gear. You can be creative with it, but stop making it next to impossible. Or it's like, if I spend that many resources, it better damn well beat every other GL,
yeah, yeah,
hands down.
yeah. Like it needs to body it, not even just beat it. It needs
Yeah,
to
and I don't
absolutely
like the
body it.
fact that there's like a separate tune like Cat
Yeah,
and Maul attached to that GL that you
yeah,
just spent your life savings on.
yeah, yeah.
Not, I'm not talking about necessarily money, but
But your horde as
your
well. Yeah,
your hoarding savings on that's attached at the hip
with a
to make
character.
Lord Vader
Yeah,
great. Why should he be great because of a tune? He should be great on his own.
exactly. He's Galactic Legend, isn't he? He should be good.
Yeah, exactly.
And without him, you know, he's okay, merely okay. But with the requirements necessary, no, he needs to be awesome. And it shouldn't be tied to Maul. It should be like I kind of get what they wanted to do. Like
Right.
in my head with Conquest, they noticed that the Razor Crest did not get the engagement that they wanted. So many people didn't bother going max box for the Razor Crest. With Cat, 14,000 people went max box 3 times in a row out of everybody who plays the game. So that's an increase in engagement for sure, but they didn't want 14,000 people to have Cat at first drop.
I seriously think that they underestimate the player base every single time. They really do. Because the player base is extremely intelligent. They know the game, they know the tunes, they know the stats. They can converge together to come up with ways around things,
Yeah.
whether good or bad. Um, but they continue. CG just kind of says, "Oh well, ha ha ha, we did this so hard that only 60 people are going to be able to get this."
Yeah.
Well, here's 15,000 people that ended up getting something. That was
Right.
a slight exaggeration there. And it's like, whoa, 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 what can we do to put the brakes on it?
Yeah, yeah, and then
And
they
that's what they did with the Conquest, was make
yeah.
it more grindy and make it harder to get Maul, and so that the lower players especially
Yeah.
cannot. And what they should have done
they
was
pay
put,
for it too. Like
yeah,
the newer players, the smaller accounts make like they pay for CG bumping up the grindiness. Like my account, I could get the 7 box if I wanted, but I'm not putting that work in. I don't care what the result
right.
is. I'm not doing it. And there are some smaller accounts than mine that do get the 7 box, and I totally I'm not surprised at that. But based on what I'm kind of ballparking, rather than the amount of people who I knew were going to get Cat, in 3, I'm just going to speculate. Less than 5,000 people will have Maul at the end of this Conquest, and I mean that's just pulled out of my ass just based on what I'm talking about. But it could be as low as like 2,000 or 3,000. which is really low. Like when you look at it, like when something like Malik dropped, there was only what, like I think the first time Malik came out, there was what, like 1,000 Maliks or something like that. Like it was really low.
Yeah, it was
Um,
pretty low. Yeah.
yeah, and everybody cried bloody murder about it, and the fact that he was 5 star, like um, there was that, and so I'm looking at him like, well, this is going to be an extremely exclusive character, and the people who have got him or will be getting him have put in a lot of work. Like
Yeah.
it's not like before where you do a couple of refreshes, you plan yourself, you plan your way through, you use your energy like smartly. You go for some good data disks and build some synergy in the data disks, and you can go ahead and get that 7 box, with some planning, and it's not too bad. It's like you're a couple of refreshes in. This one's like, if you don't refresh 3 times every day, you're just not getting that box. So,
Yeah.
and it's not even down to the crystal requirements, because I wouldn't care if they were like, okay, you can get the max tier, but to get Maul three conquests in, you have to give us 6,000 crystals. I'd be like, okay, here's 6,000 crystals. If
Yeah.
it was the same thing.
I would bypass that as
Yeah.
I would bypass that as well.
Well, if it was the
Um,
same difficulty as Cat, I would get the max box and give them 6,000 crystals and get Maul. I'd
right,
be okay
right.
with that. But like what they're asking for now, it's like, it's not the crystals. I don't give a fuck about the crystals. 6,000 crystals to get a character is not bad. It's the work. I'm not putting in that work. Like,
Well, one of the things they could have done to kind of reduce the amount of tunes that people would get is to have a base minimum GP
yeah,
to be able to. That's all they had to do. Instead of making it so grindy, they could have just capped something, or had a minimum of, okay, well, to be able to, get into this hard mode, you need to be this. That
yeah.
would get people motivated to at least get to that GP level to
Or
try it.
Or instead of just normal and hard, they have multiple tiers that are gated by GP.
Yeah.
So, like,
Uh-huh.
if 7.5 million plus, which I don't qualify for, just gonna put it out there before anybody in the comment section below is like, "Well, you're only saying that because you would get it." No, I don't have 7.5 million. But it say that's like the hard conquest mode where you can get Maul in 3 times, right? Like, I would
Mhm.
need to gain what, 300,000 GP to get there. I'm not wailing out for it, but so I would miss, and it would slow
Right,
it
right.
down. But then the next tier down, it's like between 5.5 million and 7.5 million, and then you've got 3.5 million to 5 million, and then everything 3.5 million down, and you have different reward structures for all of them, right? Like,
Right.
that makes more sense to me than grinding it out. Like, if you want to lock it, like, number one, those super krakens at the top of the pile that have spent a fucking Ferrari in this game, they shouldn't have to basically grind their whole day around getting this conquest tune. They shouldn't have to stay where they need to be at the top of the mountain, essentially. Like, it's so crazy, but I totally feel for those guys up there, the guys that
Mhm.
have everything at Relic Plus, and they are forced to be competitive. They are forced to grind out these 3 conquests, and it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time commitment,
It is.
and then that's on top of it. They're probably in a TW competitive guild, and that's a time commitment, and they're gonna have issues there, and then I totally feel for those players that have invested that kind of money and now finding themselves like, well, I'm gonna miss this character because I couldn't take days off work to do this. Come
Right.
on,
Exactly.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. And also what they should have done was left the data disks that they had in the beginning,
yeah,
like
or
those cooldowns or whatever those things were. Oh my God. The thing is, make it fun, make
yeah,
it engaging. It was fun to come up with an assortment of data disks like it was in the beginning. to come up with some wacky GMY thing that would just go over and over and over again. It was
Yeah.
fun to do.
And it was fun to play it out because you're just like, I'm just going to AoE with GMY and just go.
And let's just watch them go.
Yeah.
Though they didn't have to take that away, because and now it's like, oh, I'm down in the dumps because of this. And oh, yes, the old data disc, that was fun. It was engaging. It was funny.
Yeah.
It was and such. So, by capping the amount of GP to get to a certain conquest level,
Yeah.
would have been a lot easier than having to take stuff away from us.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you there 100%. And I think, I think the biggest fix for Conquest, I think it's probably going to be one of the last points we're going to be touching on because I'm getting kind of hungry. One of the things I think would be a fix for Conquest, if they want to leave it as stupid and grindy as it is just remove the fucking stamina. Just remove the stamina drops.
Mm-hmm.
And let people go in on their time. If I've got an hour, let me do 30 battles in an hour. Why not? What does it matter? I'm spending those crystals on the refreshes, so why do you care when I'm allowed to use teams? Just let me do
right.
them. Just let me go in.
At the very least, if it has to be stamina related, reduce the amount of stamina loss.
Well, yeah, I was going to
say
because
it's astronomical that you're lucky to get 2 or 3
per day
battles on a particular team. Dependent upon the team, though, it's dependent upon the team, and it also depends upon your data disk. But if you go much further than that, I mean, some people will take it down to practically 0% somehow. Yeah. It can take 2 days to recover the stamina for that, and what good is that?
Well, the funniest thing is they've doubled the cost of the battles, added 6 or something like that. Like I can't.
They
remember.
Added 5. Yeah, it used to be 15, and now
it's 20.
Yeah.
So they added 1/4 of the energy cost, and they've tripled the workload, but they haven't adjusted stamina nor stamina regeneration. You've tripled the workload, and you haven't changed how quickly it takes my team to get back to 100%.
Right. Reduce that. Yeah. Reduce the percentage for each stamina level that it goes down, and put the stamina rejuvenation at the gold
by a third
energy level.
By
gold
2/3.
Energy level.
Yeah. That would work. And it's kind of nuts because I keep coming back to this, and I keep looking at it, and I'm going like, they're demanding 14 wins with my bounty hunters. I have good bounty hunters. They're really well modded. There's only a couple of teams I can beat with those bounty hunters that I see, and I can't beat them at 90%. I can beat them at 100% because for some reason, especially with the Night Sisters, every single Night Sister, I haven't seen a single one that wasn't over-prepared for. Or,
exactly.
They're all over-prepared for. Why?
Right.
Why does that have to
be? They don't want you using Night Sisters to keep repeating your feats.
Yeah,
and that's why they took away zombie, because you were able to complete a lot of the feats because of zombie.
Sure.
And it's like I hear, oh no, that's they didn't do that because that. Yes, they did.
They did. They really did. And the craziest thing about it is all of this stuff, all of it has been changed to choke how quickly you can get stuff. So you can't just do it on your off time. Like, you literally have to have an actual plan of attack for this shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I have to get box 5. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's not right. Like, I shouldn't have to get box 5. I should be, like, with my account, I should be able to fuck around and get box 5. The fact that I, like, missed it the first time, I got box 4.5. Just because I was like, oh, I guess I have to do more refreshes to get box 5? That's weird. That shouldn't happen. Mm-hmm. And it was like a couple of days left. I was looking at what feats that were available to get and how many points, and I was like, well, I won't be able to do any of these in 3 days, so okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is just where we are now.
Because on some of them, like the Geos, you can do 2 battles, and then it's like, okay, 2 battles every day. That's all you can pretty much do.
Well, it's the same. Like bounty hunters, you can do 2 battles every day. That's it. and that one specifically, like they're not very good at 90%. They just don't have what they need to do at that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like like once again, I don't know what they expect people to really do. Um, they've already put a lot of needs on the currency. If you want to change data disk, that costs money. That shouldn't cost money. That really should. That takes a lot of the fun out of this.
Yeah.
If they
You
made,
earned it, you should be able to exchange it for free.
yeah, if they did one change in Conquest only, and I got to pick, it would be data disks are free to change. Because there's a lot of times I'm looking at a battle going, if I could just change my data disks for this one battle, I'd be able to do XYZ easier.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, that one's just like absolutely gratuitous. It does not need to cost money to change data disks. That's just stupid. Like hell, make it cost energy or something if they want it to cost something. But making it cost this currency, come on. It's like all that currency does is go to shards. They know it. We know it. No one wants to spend it on anything but the shards, and they shouldn't. That's the
Well,
funniest
now
part.
it does cost the conquest energy.
For changing data disks.
Yep. Yep. They did change that, but at the same time, your conquest energy is so precious because you're having to pay 20
I
per
totally missed
battle.
that.
So if
I'm
you,
I'm just
yeah,
checking that right now because I
yep.
totally missed that. Oh, it does cost. Okay, that's actually not that bad. Okay, well that's good. That's something that's a positive. I thought that cost currency. I didn't change data disks at all last conquest, like not a one, just because I was like, I'm
Well,
not
now
spending
you
over
know.
currency on that. Yeah. Well, there we go. Well, that's that's good. Fucking hell, no one was even really talking about that, or at least I didn't catch anybody talking about that because I flat out didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just like, I changed a couple in the first when I was going for cat or something, and it cost currency, and I was like, you know what? No, like let's just. So now I'm like super stingy with placing data disks. So I only have 2 on right now. I have 2 off, and 1 or 2 of them I
Yeah,
would
you
be
can do
happy to
whatever
use.
you want.
Yeah. Now that I know it's just cost
Yeah.
energy, that's a lot better.
Well, I was
I,
lucky
I
with the conquest currency because I did not spend it on anything except for the shards. So
yeah,
I've
same,
always got
same.
at least 14 to 1700 on each of my accounts. So
I
to start with.
it for me it always depends on where I'm at in the conquest, like
Mm-hmm.
because right now all I'm doing is buying mall shards. I bought the
Right.
25 cat shards I needed to get cat in 3, and then I bought a couple of Razor Crest shards to make sure I got Razor Crest. I think it was in 4 or 5 conquests, I can't remember, but it was when I had Bam leveled up and whatever, and it was before Executor, so it didn't really matter. Yeah, so I did it that way, but I've only been spending the currency on shards. Right now I have 1135,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not on Sector 2 yet, so I haven't bought the Maul. Wait, Maul shows up in Sector 3, doesn't he? Not Sector 2.
Starting at sector 2.
Sector 2? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Sector 1 is kind of like others. Right now it's Razor Crest in sector 1, and
yeah.
then they'll add Maul in the rest of the sectors.
Yeah. But I'm not going to lie, I'm super relieved to see that, to learn that there's no more currency involved in changing the data disk. I still think data disks need to be free to change, straight up.
I agree.
And that's the thing. It's like energy is not ideal, but it is better than the currency by far. But I think they need to be free on that. And just either remove stamina or make stamina like 2/3 faster to recover, or even twice as fast to recover. Just like anything, any bone at this point, because I have a feeling when Maul drops and the people who are forced to go get Maul right away, I think what's going to happen is they're going to make it less grindy for at least, I think they're going to put a new ship, and I think they're going to make it less grindy, and they're still going to see people not getting that 7 box. Quite a few of them. I think even if it's like half as grindy as it is now, I still expect like 10,000 or less of the ship or whenever it's allowed to be dropped or whatever like that, just based on what I know of how people like to play the game. So even if like they don't change stamina or whatever, and they just make it twice, like half as grindy as it is right now for the ship for the next whatever three conquests before they link up some other Uber character or something that and then just torque it to fucking hell and back again. Um, yeah, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't want to keep talking about Conquest. I do want to go make some dinner though. So let me take this chance to ask you for any final thoughts you have on anything we talked about. Anything you wanted to cover that we didn't touch on.
I think we covered pretty much everything that I was thinking about at the time. It's been a great conversation,
Yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
kind of nice to just kind of talk things out and maybe, maybe offer up some suggestions.
Yeah, I really like the one-on-one chats. It gives it a good like long form. When you can talk to somebody like because we'll talk on voice and stuff, but there's chaotic. There's a bunch of people talking, and a lot of times we're just talking about nonsense rather than game related. So
Right.
keeping it semi on point, so to speak, is pretty solid. So thanks for joining me. I really do appreciate it, guys. If you like the video, go ahead and throw us a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you should probably do that. And join us here on YouTube, and we do our Twitch live on GAC nights, and we also on every off week we do a spoken word Twitch where we just kind of drink and talk the game, which we should be doing either this Friday or Saturday. I haven't decided yet. I'll put it out into chat and see which day they want to go at it with. Anyway, thanks again, Avinash, for joining us. And it's good to have you here. It's good to have a good long chat.
Welcome. Thank you. I enjoyed my time.
And have a good night, YouTube. Thanks for watching or listening. Goodbye.